What happens if Saudi Arabia and Iran sign a mutual defense pact? Deep inside the Diaoyutai State Guest House in Beijing, at exactly 21:40 local time on April 25, 2026, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia and Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian sat across from each other at a table that had been carefully arranged with flowers, tea services, and the gold-embossed folders containing what diplomatic sources describe as the most consequential bilateral agreement in Middle Eastern history since the Camp David Accords of 1978. According to operational reports being discussed in diplomatic circles across 3 continents, the documents inside those folders outlined a comprehensive mutual security framework between the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the Islamic Republic of Iran. A framework that, if finalized as described, would include mutual non-aggression guarantees, intelligence sharing on non-state threats, coordinated energy production management, and a mutual defense consultation clause that would obligate each party to consult with the other before responding militarily to any external attack on either's territory. The Chinese foreign minister, seated at the head of the table in the role of guarantor, is reported to have smiled as both leaders reached for their pens. The room smelled of jasmine tea and the end of an era. What would a Saudi-Iranian mutual defense pact mean for the American military presence in the Gulf? How would it affect the Strait of Hormuz, oil pricing, and the global energy market? What happens to the $350 billion in American weapons that Saudi Arabia has purchased over the past 2 decades when the customer decides its former enemy is now its partner? Stay with us because the implications reshape every assumption about the Middle East that has governed Western policy for 47 years. If you want analysis that penetrates the diplomatic veil, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Drop your thoughts in the comments. The Saudi-Iranian relationship has been the defining rivalry of the modern Middle East since the Iranian Revolution of 1979. For 47 years, the 2 regional powers have fought each other through proxies in Lebanon, in Syria, in Iraq, in Yemen, in Bahrain, and in every theater where Sunni and Shia political interests collide. The rivalry has consumed trillions of dollars in military spending, killed hundreds of thousands of people through proxy wars, and shaped the foreign policies of every state in the region. And the rivalry has been the foundational justification for the American military presence in the Gulf. The reason Saudi Arabia has purchased over $350 billion in American weapons. The reason the United States maintains 35,000 troops across Gulf state installations. The reason the Fifth Fleet is headquartered in Bahrain. And the reason the American defense industry's most profitable export market exists. A mutual defense pact between Saudi Arabia and Iran would not merely end this rivalry. It would demolish the strategic rationale for the entire American military architecture in the Middle East. If Saudi Arabia and Iran are no longer adversaries, if they are consulting partners with mutual security obligations, then the Iranian threat that justifies American military sales, American base agreements, and American naval deployments in the Gulf disappears. Not gradually, overnight. The $350 billion in American weapons systems currently deployed across the Saudi military become the artifacts of a rivalry that no longer exists, maintained by a country that has decided its security is better served by partnership with its neighbor than by dependence on a superpower 8,000 miles away. The energy implications are equally seismic. Saudi Arabia and Iran together control approximately 22% of global proven oil reserves and approximately 20% of daily global oil production. A coordinated energy management framework between them would give the 2 countries effective veto power over global oil pricing, a duopoly more concentrated and more strategically consequential than any OPEC arrangement has ever achieved. The Strait of Hormuz, through which 21% of global oil passes, would transform from a contested choke point into a jointly managed corridor, secure not because an external navy patrols it, but because the 2 countries on either side have agreed to keep it open. The weapon systems currently dividing the two countries include Saudi Arabia's fleet of over 200 F-15 fighters, Patriot PAC-3 air defense batteries, THAAD anti-ballistic missile systems, Abrams main battle tanks, and naval combatants purchased from the United States over decades. Iran's arsenal includes Fateh 110 and Ahmad ballistic missiles, Shahed drone families, Bavar 373 air defense systems, Kilo-class submarines, and fast attack craft armed with anti-ship cruise missiles. Under a mutual defense consultation framework, the two most heavily armed states in the Middle East would be comparing threat assessments rather than targeting each other, a transformation that renders approximately $500 billion worth of military hardware on both sides strategically redundant for the bilateral relationship, even as it remains relevant for defense against external threats. In Washington, the prospect of a Saudi-Iranian defense pact is being described in classified assessments as an extinction-level event for the American military-industrial relationship with the Gulf. The loss of the Saudi arms market alone would affect defense contractor revenues by an estimated $20 to $30 billion per year. In Beijing, the pact is being positioned as the crown jewel of Chinese Middle Eastern diplomacy, proof that China can achieve through mediation what the United States could not achieve through military force, and that the future of Middle Eastern security will be managed from Beijing rather than from Washington. In Moscow, a Saudi-Iranian rapprochement strengthens the emerging Eastern axis by adding two of the world's largest oil producers to a coalition that already includes Russia, China, and the BRICS membership. In Tel Aviv, the pact is being assessed as the most consequential strategic threat since the founding of the state, because a Saudi Arabia aligned with Iran removes the tacit partnership between Israel and the Gulf monarchies that has been a cornerstone of Israeli regional strategy since the Abraham Accords. In New Delhi, India sees the potential pact as both opportunity and threat. Opportunity because a stable Gulf reduces the risk to Indian energy supplies. Threat because a Chinese-mediated regional order reduces Indian influence in a region where 8 million Indian nationals live and work. In Ankara, Turkey is positioning itself as a complementary security partner rather than a competitor, recognizing that a Saudi-Iranian alignment reshapes the regional order in ways that Turkey must adapt to rather than resist. First, a Saudi-Iranian mutual defense pact would eliminate the strategic rationale for the American military presence in the Gulf, triggering a cascade of base renegotiations, arms contract cancellations, and alliance realignments that would reshape the region within 18 to 24 months. Second, the energy coordination dimension of the pact would give Saudi Arabia and Iran joint control over global oil pricing at a scale that no current international mechanism can counterbalance. Third, China's role as the guarantor of the pact positions Beijing as the dominant external power in the Middle East, replacing the United States in the mediator role that has been the foundation of American regional influence since the Camp David Accords. Fourth, the pact would represent the final confirmation that the post-1979 Middle Eastern order, built on the Saudi-Iranian rivalry and sustained by American military sales and security guarantees, has been replaced by a new order built on regional self-management, Eastern mediation, and the recognition that the countries of the Middle East no longer need or want an external guarantor whose motives they no longer trust. The old rivalry is dying, the rivalry that shaped the modern Middle East, that justified trillions in military spending, that fueled proxy wars across 5 countries, that gave the American defense industry its most profitable market and the American military its most expensive deployment. That rivalry may be ending not with a battle, but with a handshake, brokered by a country that neither Washington nor Brussels invited to the table, but that arrived anyway, with tea, with patience, and with the strategic clarity to see that the two countries sitting across from each other needed a mediator who would help them, not a protector who would profit from their division. What do you think? Would a Saudi-Iranian pact stabilize the Middle East or destabilize the world? Drop your honest answer in the comments. We read every one. Hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Until next time, stay sharp.